All right, I'm gonna call the meeting to order here. Uh, Milton School Finance Subcommittee, 4:15, and we'll call the meeting to order at 8:06 a.m. Sorry for the delay. All right, we got a few things to cover. I think John has a pretty good stop at 9, or maybe just before. We might be able to do a little bit without John. So I'll hold and we'll vote on meeting minutes maybe right at the end with the agenda. I want to briefly talk through before we get into the presentation, which I think should be the majority of this conversation today, but briefly talk about the financial policies. We obviously read them at school committee. We got the email from Nick about the town administrator about the potential to not have to go through so many rules to allocate reserve or unspent funds that were allocated to the school budget over into the special ed reserve account. I asked, I don't know if Katie or you have had a chance to talk with him further.
I have not spoken with him. I think we planned on looking at the original documents from the Baker administration. When these accounts were created by the state, there was probably about 7 or 8 different types of accounts that the governor created for municipalities in order to save money and do things in a way that made sense for their budgets. I believe that the reading of the account that we're voting on and setting policy for does have a mechanism for the school and or the town to fund or seed over time the budget. I just remember it that way. And Katie and I have different recollections of that. So mine was a little different. I didn't want to go too hard on it.
Yeah.
But I just need to find the document and just look through it because I agree with Nick. I think that if we ever have money that we want to populate into that account, we can do so, knowing that money then goes from our full charge to now a dual approvals mechanism to come out. But I do think that it has that. So I will try to find that language.
Okay.
And ask Nick about it as well.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the policy actually. I don't know if there's language change we want to make to the policy itself that would make that more general. So what we say in the policy is the first, and I can, share my screen and pull it up here. Just so we're all looking at it together. All right. Y'all see that?
Almost. It's trying.
It's trying.
Trying real hard. There yet?
There we
There
go.
we go.
There we go. All right. So I think it's this section is the one we're talking about. And first funding source will be free cash derived from year-end surpluses from appropriated school budget. If such funding exists and the fund balance is below the TFC, the standard practice will be these funds will be allocated to the Special Education Stable Fund in the next annual town meeting. So it's this part of in the next annual town meeting that I guess is the place of question of like, do we need to go through a town meeting to allocate it, or can it be allocated in some other way? So I don't think that's big language change. I guess I think we're all on the same page that like, if we can do this without going through town meeting, if that's allowed, legally speaking, and that saves a lot of hurdles, that still accomplishes our goal. That's what we would want to do, especially if it sounds like that's what the town administrator and the select board would want to do. Is that a fair reading from just the other members?
Mm-hmm.
Could I just pause thinking the account could be funded by free cash from the town that may have to be appropriated by town meeting as one source.
Yes.
Our school-based funding source, I agree that I don't think we need to go through town meeting. But I will.
But that's the piece you're gonna so I think this language here, because we do have undesignated fund, free cash, maybe transferred to the safe fund in addition to the funding source above. And I think that that would again have to be through town meeting, as
that
that's
makes
how
sense.
free cash is allocated.
Okay.
So it's really just a matter of this. And I think even getting that clarity within the policy that like we don't need to go through town meeting would just be clear for future school committee members and select board members too. That we don't need constant approval. All right, so I think that's the language John's going to take on, kind of confirming that for us. We obviously need that. The priority is to get that before we meet as a school committee on the 29th, 2 weeks.
Yep.
And obviously we can get a little bit sooner so we can just make sure it's run through with Winston and them. I did poke Winston and Megan and Nick yesterday or Sunday, or Monday maybe, on just because I hadn't heard back from them on that. I'll maybe try and poke Winston and Megan too, just to make sure if that like there's agreement on this piece around, how the money gets allocated. Is there any question on the overall goal of, again, our end of year allocation, any additional funding kind of moving into there? I think we're aligned on all that, but I just, before we get to the 29th and we obviously vote on the policy, I will work on sussing out with them. Winston did mention that they might be talking about it at the select board meeting that was last night. I've not watched that meeting, so I'll also just check to see if this is the policy itself is something they discussed and got feedback from other members on. So I think that's the update on this policy.
Sounds good.
And then in terms of the circuit breaker policy, I don't think again, obviously that's internal, so we're not needing their feedback, but I don't think we've gotten any other feedback from other members on anything. So I don't think there's any planned changes with the circuit breaker policy beyond maybe what we'd like changed in the meeting that Nathan suggested. If I'm remembering that right, but is there anything else we need to discuss with the circuit breaker policy?
I don't think so.
No, Mark, just a process question here. So the idea is on the 29th, potentially, we are looking to bring both of these policies to the school committee for a second reading and a vote.
That's correct.
And I just can't remember how policy stuff works exactly. Do we need to sort of vote on it as a committee as a signal of our support, or is that kind of redundant?
There's no requirement that we need to vote on this as a committee. We can. I don't think we need a vote if we feel like we have. I think this group helped develop this policy. We've talked through it. I think we have consensus, so I don't think we have to take a formalized vote. I think when we're in front of the full school committee, obviously members can share their individual feedback. So,
yeah. Can I just speak from a technical
please?
So this has been on the agenda at this meeting 3 times.
Yeah.
And these meetings are posted as full school committee meetings. And then it was discussed at the school committee meeting, last meeting, under finance, not under its own policy, but it was under finance, which is posted like this.
Yeah.
And I don't know, Nathan, if you're worried about the technical piece of speaking about it and then voting it on the 29th. It does feel like it's been posted to the public in the finance meetings, which are full school committee meetings, represented at full school committee through finance, although not on the agenda. That's why I want to make sure I clarify that. But this has been pretty explicitly posted and discussed.
Yeah.
So I do think that the vote on the 29th is technically in good standing, put it that way.
Yeah. Okay, great. I'm not really, I feel like the full committee has had a chance to weigh in and is aware of all of this. I just wanted to make sure we weren't missing some sort of procedural requirement. And if we're not, that's good. I guess the other thing I'll just note is on the 29th, we will have a new member who will have been sworn in 30 minutes before we talk about this. So, that's just how it goes, I think.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah, they'll either abstain or they'll ask questions and feel comfortable with one way or the other. Yeah. It is what it is. Yeah, I don't think, Nate, I think your overall question of just votes within this committee, I think I've tried to ensure we're having votes on specifically like budget things that we're bringing forward. We could take a vote on this if members would like to. That would even be allowed, even though it doesn't say vote in the meeting. But yeah, I don't know if we have 100% like clarity on exactly when subcommittees vote to approve something to bring to the full school committee or not. I
Okay.
don't, it's a very clear policy about school committee policies on
Yeah.
like any requirement. There is no, I know there is no requirement that we need to vote on this to pass the law.
All right, good. I mean, we're all in agreement, so
Yeah.
I think it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Thanks.
Okay. Anything else with these two policies? Right. If not, then I will move us on to the draft slides for town meeting. Again, I put together initial draft. I think Katie did some adds and updates. I know now Katie, John was saying Katie and Stephanie O'Keefe met yesterday and went through the presentation, added things, maybe made some comments. I have not seen that, not looked at it thus far. Obviously, we share this out, Amanda, Nathan, with both of you. So I think maybe the way we did this with warrant committee is we kind of just walked through the slides, and that was like helpful just to talk through the flow and cadence. But before we do that, is there any like high level things that y'all want to talk through or?
I guess I haven't reviewed it, so I apologize. I would only say we should think about, as we review the slides, what is our overarching goal? Where do we think we are? What's the tone that we want to set? What's the goal? And then those for what the town meeting should understand and walk away with. And that will help decide how long this is and how detailed it is and how much we want to put in the appendix and how much of this we just want as messaging.
Yeah.
And I think, Mark, your slides related to the warrant committee's meeting that we had, where we tried to strike an upbeat tone of this money will work for next year. We're moving this work forward. I think was a very helpful tone. And I read an article for the Times and once every quarter or whatever, and that was my tone for the article that I think will come out next week, which is we're happy, we're moving along, the district's in a good place. So I don't know if that's the tone of this and how you want to work that.
Yeah, and I've credit Nathan a lot to that tone shift that we made on the warrant committee stuff. But yeah, I mean, we're just talking about the agenda in terms of what we want to cover. I think, again, we want to be able to highlight and celebrate the kids and staff in some ways, and just make sure we're grounding the work. We did that. We stated that a little bit last year in our town meeting presentation, again, wanting to ground the work in who we are serving, which is our kids and families and staff. And so I think those highlights are good. I did want to make sure we talk about within our presentation last year, because I watched last year's presentation town meeting, there was obviously a lot of discussion of the financial concerns within the district, and we talked about the things we are going to do to address those concerns. And I thought it was important that we, look back at that and talk about, here are the things we said we were going to do, here are the things we did, just to try and, because that's the town meeting's last kind of touch point with us.
Yeah.
And then talk high level about how we approach the budget, and then talk high level about, what does the allocation that the additional allocation we're looking at mean for us next year. So, walk through that and see if any of that is kind of overstated or, too long, or we're missing something else in there.
Okay.
Can I add one thing, just Mark,
Please.
for context? I was just thinking about when you were saying this about last town meeting. I also want to keep in mind that as we're doing it, recognizing that there will be a number of new, like brand new town meeting members. So some of this won't be, there will be an audience that has remained, but also an audience that's new, like brand new to town meeting, brand new to the school budget. So, so I think you struck a good balance with it, but I just want to remember that not everybody is carrying forward.
Yeah, no, that's a great point for something we should keep in mind as we're trying to think of the audience here. I appreciate that. So district highlights, the mission, this is a slide again we shared last year, and this is the framing, reminding everybody what is our mission as public schools. This was the suggestion from Nathan on the district profile. This is just a snapshot from, I first tried to do something like AI generated, and then it's that thing where like 3 things are totally wrong on it, and you can't change just those 2 things without totally messing up the image. So I ended up just taking this from the DESE webpage, which has some basic enrollment information. I had a question of just, is this kind of what we're thinking? Is there something else we actually wanted to do that'd be more helpful in terms of like profiling?
Mark,
us?
I think this is great. The only data point I think I would suggest adding is the number of employees or FTEs, however we want to count them.
Okay.
And that enrollment number looks high, but it is what it is if it's from the DESI website. You know what I mean?
Yeah, this looks all right to me. That was because we've been around the 4,350-ish number. But yeah, that's from the October sims. I don't know if they've updated yet with March data. Yeah, the only other one I was wondering is like achievement data, but then you get into a lot. I mean, there's a lot there of like, okay, what achievement data? 338 MCAS, what about high school? What about APs? What about SATs? What math and ELA and science? And like, it's a lot if you start getting into achievement data.
I like the way you did it later though, with I think the highlights touch on that sort of the outcomes and then the highlights, because I think it takes into account that it's more than just the test scores.
Yeah. All right, let's jump to that. I'm not sure how much they've updated these slides based on what we did for warrant committee.
So I would assume that that's what Stephanie's focused on yesterday.
Yeah.
In slides like this, sometimes in the presentation of it, it's letting the audience just read.
Yeah.
And also, I wonder, we made a habit in my previous district of actually sending out our slides to the town meeting before the town meeting.
Yeah.
Just give it to them, Jimmy, and like, I think the moderator used to have everybody say, if you want something in the hands of town meeting to read prior to town meeting, you should give it to me by X date.
Yeah.
And we would, and it really generated some questions, but it alleviated a lot of unnecessary questions, and people wouldn't have to really read through that. And you wouldn't, or whoever's presenting wouldn't have to actually read through that. Do you know what I mean? So just a thought.
I reached out to the moderator on that point. Also to the point I think we talked about last time, can we share, link to the school budget page? Because that's got a lot of resources for town meeting members. Like, is there some information that I don't know if the moderator, I didn't ask her directly, but from the email, it doesn't sound like she communicates directly with town meeting members. She passes on her own letter to the town administrator, who puts that in the warrant, and then they mail out the warrant. But they're not emailing anything to town meeting members. There's no ability for it. Like, she did say she wants our presentation a week in advance of town meeting, but I think that's just so that she can have it, review it, and then also that she can give it to the clerk of the warrant committee, who is the one at town meeting who pulls it up on the screen and stuff. So they have that organized in those folders.
Interesting.
But I'll ask him. I think that's a great idea, but I don't think right now we have a mechanism for sharing out that information. But otherwise, I totally agree. But I do agree with your point. I don't think whoever presents the slide, and we'll get into it in a bit, should be reading all these words.
Okay.
Um,
That might be. I'm going to talk to Nick about that. There's, getting an email, whether it's by precinct or by entire town meeting, but getting an email listserv for those folks is super important.
Yeah, that's been discussed at town meeting for a little while here. Of like, but do you use their personal emails? Do you set them up with the town email? And then how do you? Yeah, there's been discussion at the select board. They've done nothing really. Yeah, nothing has really come of it.
Don't let perfection get in the way of progress, right? just email.
Yeah.
Just two thoughts on this. I mean, I know I get emails from Sue as a town meeting member, so there is some sort of mechanism for the clerk to email things.
Yeah.
I do wonder, like these slides 6 and 7. I don't know. I don't know if this is allowed at town meeting, but like, where the green sheets often go, could there be like a printout of these 2 slides or these 3 or 4 slides or something? That could be another way. Just it could be hard for some folks to read this up on the screen.
Yeah, that's an interesting idea. Even if it's, you just print the slide presentation to say, hey, this is
Yeah, there's a lot of paper to print for several
Yeah.
hundred people, but
Yeah, that's true.
The other part too is that for folks, just to try to be more interactive, we could have some sort of a. You wonder if you could put we can put a barcode. I'm sure. I'm not the technology guy, but a barcode at the beginning that folks could actually take a picture of that barcode with their phone, and they could actually log in. They could actually have it in their hand as well. Then they could actually have their email. They could actually have it on their device, or could email it. You know what I mean? Some way to get it in their hands.
Yeah.
To your point, Nathan, that if we do reference it, then they actually can walk away with it digital that they can read later on. Well, you know what I mean? Like this, it'd just be nice to see if we can get to them.
So
get them this digitally.
Yeah.
So they can.
To save the paper. So if Stephanie is able to put this on the website,
They can just click the link.
Then
and direct them to it.
we can, use the link.
Yeah.
Embed that in the QR code and put that at the start of the presentation.
Yeah.
And then we say, if you'd like to, we have some tech savvy slides. If you'd like to view them.
Yeah.
Here's,
Okay. I'll work on that.
Scan this real quick and this should pull it up.
Okay. Perfect.
I think would be a good middle ground to, again, allow them to be able to read and see stuff kind of more personally, take it home, whatever.
it's great. Technical point. I think that's a great idea. We should just have it as a PDF up on the website, just so
Yeah, we'll put it up
you
beforehand.
don't crash the site.
Yeah.
Yeah. Appreciate that. State champs.
I had a question on this one, Mark.
Yeah.
I thought the track team also won some kind of championship. Could have that wrong.
So track had individual. I believe track had individual success, but not team success.
Okay.
And that was the same with like wrestling too, Nathan. I think we had one wrestler, three wrestlers do very well, but they did not. It wasn't the team. And this is where you get into that funky zone of not recognizing enough folks for sure. We just got word back in our last Stephanie's look into it. Our future problem solvers last weekend at Clark University, Tucker's junior team came in first, and the Cunningham or a Glover team came in high as well. So maybe I'll try to get a picture, get something on that as well.
Mhm.
That's a nice academic team story to tell. You know what I mean? So I'll get on that as well.
Here's the class profile of graduating class, which again gets us a little more into the outcomes here.
I think that's great.
Yep.
I don't know if we have any information on,
26.
well, she has it down here. We don't have 26 information, but
Yeah.
Yeah, I think this sends
I
a
think that's
message.
okay though.
Do you want to hear a nice anecdote? I'm not a big TV watcher, but the show that's been recognized on with awards. I can't think of the name of it. With the older actress who's a comedian or an actress.
Hacks.
Hacks.
Mhm.
The
Mhm.
woman who was the co-producer of Hacks is a former student of mine from Pierce Middle School.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh my
That's
And
God.
she was on, I don't know if you watch the Sunday morning show on Sundays with CBS with Jane Pauley.
Mhm.
I knew she was a writer. I've been keeping track of her career because I've watched her career go off a little bit. But she was interviewed on the show with all the stars and and she's the co-producer. It was just amazing.
Yeah.
Great. She was a good kid in middle school, and obviously she's super successful. So good anecdote.
Only other thing I had here, thought here is like, I don't know if we have any scholarship award information or anything like that, but that'd be my only other thought on
Okay.
kind of graduating class profile or something like that. Anything else within highlights or profile that we think?
Mm-mm.
So then we have to look back and essentially.
Mark, sorry,
Yeah.
just one other. Maybe just where did we land? What did we say about achievement data that we were not sure what to include or that we didn't want to include anything?
I think my statement was I'm not sure what to include. I mean, again, I think of achievement data for our purposes being incredibly important of like how we are measuring outcomes and thinking about like what effect we're having on kids. I don't know if town meeting is the place we want to get into that detail, just because again, you have what the 3 through 8 MCAS, 10th grade MCAS, high school SAT, APs, MCAS is math, ELA, and social and science. So just like, how do you, within any like achievement presentation I do, it's long. That presentation is long because it's a lot. And then if people don't know what is an SGP and MCAS, like how do you explain that? What is percent meeting and exceeding expectations? What is
one way to do that with a consumable slide could be not the data itself, but statements that say stuff like, our MCAS data shows that we, at each grade level, we're above the state average, or some sort of a couple of bulleted statements. And then you can go into SAT, and then you can go into AP. If we could maybe try to put 1 or 2 slides together of that, because I agree, once we start putting hard data up there, it looks different. But we can make some general statements about student achievement data that we have, that we can actually, that hopefully would be consumable by the town meeting without the detail and the jargon that usually is what confuses folks. Like that, we can look into that step. I can look into that.
I think that sounds great, John. I think putting something up here will be important.
Okay.
And I think we should also be willing to, I don't think we want to get way down into the nitty-gritty, but we should also acknowledge that there are important learning gaps that we are trying to close as well. And we're making resource decisions to address those.
Yep. Got it.
I think that's a great point. Look back. So these are all the bullet points that we presented across kind of 2 slides last year, and I tried to consolidate the language so we could get it into 1 slide. But just these are all the things we said we were going to implement last year, and we implemented all of those things. Provided the kind of context around the curriculum funding.
That's great. You guys should really take time on that. I think it's a really impressive slide to be able to demonstrate that coming off an override where people put faith in the process and that identified areas of concern and then have them all addressed is really, really, it's really important for the school committee to take credit for. I think it's a really big deal.
I have two thoughts on this, Mark. Agree with John, and I wonder if the headline here should be different. Like if it should be, school committee and district management have put in place 10 new best practices in financial management or whatever, just be a little bit more on the nose.
Or if you keep it the same, proposed practices presented in 2025 meeting, expectations met, and just a dash, like, kind of like a headline.
Yeah, I've thought about it. Promises made, promises kept.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. No, I agree. I think that this is the place where you do that. That's what people will remember, that stuff. They'll remember the headline before they remember the 8 bullets, even though the 8 bullets are the important work. They'll remember the headline.
Yeah.
And then my other comment was just, I thought the green is a little hard to read here. I don't know if it just needs to be darker.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
Okay. I don't know if this even needs to be green. It's just.
No, it's good. I think it's.
Then on this, I was just, I don't know. I'm hoping we could add some. I don't know if it's a screenshot. I don't know if it's just like we are on track on budget for this year. I think we should just state that for folks, just because that I'm sure will be a question.
Katie will have a copy of that we'll discuss and vote on the 29th.
Yeah.
So whatever we need to add to that, I think statements would be more helpful than anything. Do you know what I mean? But we'd want to see what that number is before we say it.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's fine, so I'm not worried about it, but
Yeah.
placeholder for that was great.
Then our budget philosophy, these are slides we did share with warrant committee, and just want philosophy or philosophy statements that kind of guided our practice. This is one I added on just trying to highlight financial engagement with the town and other boards, just to talk through like everything that has gone on. Again, there was some stuff at last town meeting of like, hey, you should have quarterly the reports, which we already were doing, but like just highlighting some of that. There's obviously been stuff on coordination between us and other folks. I don't know. I'm happy for feedback on this. Maybe this isn't necessary, but just generally trying to cover like we've been trying to do a lot to keep people informed, be transparent, keep people involved and connected to the work around this year and next year's budget.
Yeah, I think maybe if we could condense it a little bit, and then I'll finish that thought in a second. The other element, and I don't know where it would go in, and it might depend sort of on it. It will be voted on the 29th, but I think the idea around codifying the policies, I think beginning to codify policy around like circuit breaker, special education reserve fund, I think that piece is important too, because again, we're beginning to establish more of a process. So if that could, I don't know if that would be ended. I don't know if it would be included there or it's in the work that we've been doing. So we didn't talk about adding that in the best practice. We didn't talk about adding that in the fall, which I know that sort of it's splitting hairs. I mean, so we
didn't. I wonder if it's just similar to the ELA though, where it's like it's connected with this. Is we not only are building back our funding within these accounts, but we a sub bullet point there is
creating
policies to sustain this over time or something like. I don't disagree that we should maybe highlight that.
In this slide, it is dense.
Yeah.
So I agree. But when the person walks away with it and looks at it later, and it might be, again, given the presenter, and I think the school committee should take a lot of credit for this. This is one of the ones where you say, this is also like the showing off with the check boxes.
Yeah.
You asked us to do these things. This was the list that people wanted us to explore last year at town meeting. I want you to sit and look at this slide for a few minutes, and these have all been completed. Let them read through it, and then you highlight a couple. And then you get to this slide and you say the same thing. We were asked about engagement with the community specifically.
Mm-hmm.
And we took that very seriously. And in an effort to provide a fully engaged community as best we can during this school year for FY27, here's an example of some of those, and let people read it. You know what I mean? And hopefully they do. I think a lot of people are distracted in the audience sometimes, which was my last experience at the June meeting, where I was surprised at how many people were maybe not always on. But I think that they should. I don't know if I would take anything off because I wouldn't want to not represent the work. But I don't want to have them just look at a wordy slide either. So, but you would like
there might just be some use of bolding or italics that would make things pop out here. I agree that all of this information is really valuable. And it's making me think, I don't know if at town meeting, anyone's going to talk about the consulting report that was produced and the consultant's work, which was also a recommendation, I believe, of warrant committee last year. But two of their recommendations were to continue and or sort of increase coordination between public boards and warrant committee and town staff, and to communicate more transparently to Milton residents about the state of our finances. And I think that, if no one's talking about that report, then it'd probably be odd to reference it in your presentation. But I think this is a demonstration of those recommendations as well.
I'm surprised maybe they talked about it last night, but I'm surprised at this point it hasn't gotten any airtime at the select board. So just another report that we we get as a town. But I agree with that, Nathan. I'm wondering how to incorporate that. We do talk about the report. I came back to the slide just because we talk about the consultant best practices report here a bit.
It could be a voiceover.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean, when you're talking to the slides, like, you know, as recommended in the consultant's report, you know, we can reference the things that we've been doing or have done. You know, this points to the transparency. This points to the, you know, engagement between groups. The earlier ones point to the establishment and the funding of, you know, this. You know, we've established a circuit breaker policy that aligns with that. We've done the Special Education Reserve Fund that aligns with their recommendations. So I think maybe that's where you pull it in more as a narrative.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense. Nathan, would you want to go through this and identify, like, to your point of bold and italics, just things you think we should? Amanda, to the point on the policy work. Yep. Does it make sense to you to like include it here as a sub bullet? I don't know what the exact word is, but
you mean as far as that it's from the
just related to like that we've established these policies around the special ed reserve account and circuit breaker.
Yeah. Yeah.
This one I think we probably should move. I just kept it again. The only thing here is it's the same. I put it together for the warrant committee presentation. It's really like a slide presentation where, you know, just things keep popping up. I don't know if y'all looked at this when we did the last time, but it's just like all the different, and within the last year, tons of news articles about what's going on within schools and to provide some context. It probably, as I'm thinking of it, is just an extra slide we probably don't want to walk through, but wanted to flag that. Like the thinking is just like, how do we give context to town meeting members that challenges around school finances is not unique to Milton, and we're actually not doing that bad now that we've kind of gotten past the override and where we are. We're not in dire straits here.
This feels, I think, just personally, I felt like it sort of shifted the tone a little bit.
Yeah.
And if we used this slide last year prior to the override, but I think we got there. It's not to say that there aren't obviously still challenges on the budget. But I feel like sort of, you know, as John said, when we were opening this up, sort of what is the tone and what's the message that we want to put across?
Yeah.
So just, I don't know. I don't know that it lends us anything that we couldn't say, but I'm just, if people feel differently, I'm not stuck on it.
Could I add? I could just add to that slant. I think that, and I've said this a couple of times publicly, and I'm not sure how it lands, but it's even to Mark's point. What we have seen over the last 3 months is so many more districts struggling financially. Every day in the MASC listserv is 5 or 6 more communities that are not getting budgets that are, you know, sufficient or struggling to get budgets that are sufficient. Bellwether districts, regular districts, et cetera. Mm-hmm. And I think that what it might be nice to do in terms of the tone is to say that all this town always steps up and does the right thing on behalf of the town and the schools. And I don't want to open a can of worms and say, and you did that in April. And I know we had a spat about that in January, February about why wasn't it enough. But the reality is that override vote in April of 25 was incredibly powerful for the town and the schools, because what we're seeing is a lot of towns not being able to follow through with that. Marblehead didn't get it. Winchester didn't get it. Marshfield, $7 million short. Braintree's now talking about another override. Newton, Brookline, so I want to congratulate and thank the community for the override, and combine that with letting them know that everything that they asked us to do this year kind of goes back to, what did you ask us to do last year, and that we did it. Maybe it's there that in April we asked you for an override, and you trusted us, you voted yes. We can't thank enough. So many districts are struggling right now, but part of that override was an accountability that we obligated ourselves to ensure that we were transparent and blah 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 blah. And here's all the things that you asked us to do, and here's all the things we did. That's a good news story that I don't think should be. That might be a good way to kind of kick it off in a positive way.
Yeah.
And maybe they'll forget about the spats in January, February, but the reality is the town stepped up. They had expectations about, we asked them to vote the money, they did. They had expectations for oversight and accountability for the schools and the town. And the checkbox is a really nice way to demonstrate that we did that. And we have a Q3 in an FY26 budget coming in on budget. These are all good news stories fiscally. Do you know what I mean?
I agree with all of that. And I'm behind on watching all of my warrant committee meetings, but I think this presentation is going to be juxtaposed, as I understand it, or as I lack, will be juxtaposed against a warrant committee presentation that is going to, I don't know exactly what it will say, but as I understand it from the chair, we'll sort of talk about the town's, how the warrant committee interprets the town's financial projections, which I think maybe a little bit less rosy. So I don't know. It is possible there is some cognitive dissonance for town meeting between that presentation and this one.
I totally agree, Nathan, that we should be mindful of that presentation. I started watching it yesterday because he went through with the warrant committee on Monday. So yeah, I think there at least would need to be some kind of, we can highlight the rosy. We still would need to acknowledge that like future questions and, concerns around funding remain, and will need to be kind of worked through.
That's
coordination with select board and on the budget coordination committee or whatever. So something like that, I think, just as
that's fair.
A deficit, but I do think just like where we're at, it's not we want to be. We'd like to be kind of in a better spot, and we'd like to not have the $1 million cuts. We'd like to have greater certainty on future projections, but where we are within the context of the state is not a bad place to be.
Right. And I agree with Nathan as well, because I don't want to be not sensitive to the bigger picture, but there's also value in this. School committee was asked for an override, got it, and it was asked for accountabilities. And this department has done their job this year in terms of responding to the needs of the fiscal controls, the fiscal accountabilities, coming in with a budget that's within the limits of the town. We're doing our work in the context of maybe these harder questions that we have from a town perspective, and that a lot of towns are facing. Each year we will continue to make this work, and I just think there's room for a little bit of both. So I just think that this group did a lot of good work this year, and I don't want that to go unnoticed by the town. That's all.
Yeah. Totally agree. I think it is. I agree. I think it is possible to do both. It's just that both will be happening.
Yeah, no, agreed. And I haven't seen the warrant committee's thing, and I get that despite the fact that we've made good incremental steps over the last year and a half, and we've got good news to report about how we're stabilizing things and moving them forward, we do have this overarching, statewide challenge that other districts are facing and other towns are facing about just revenue matching expenses. That's not unique to Milton.
Yeah.
I know you've got to run here in just a sec, just a very lightning fast run through the sides, and then we can come back to them with the numbers. So all of these are just ones we did to the warrant committee, right? Here's the allocation, here's what we're investing in, here's kind of what that looks like, what the specific things are and how it ties to our budget priorities. Here's the overall changes. That's it. And then like we have with the warrant committee, there are questions. We have information kind of down in the appendix. A lot of those are the information that they've asked previously.
Could I pause?
Yeah,
The
please.
investing in slide with that's the priority, but that does not include some of the things that we are restoring
Yeah.
from the reduction. So we'd want to add like the BCBA, the extra BCBA, the special ed assistant director, the positions that we actually are filling, the technology person.
Right.
Yeah.
This was one cut of a couple of cuts that we might want to just flag that slide as something that we can just maybe make different from the everything. So everything that we're posting, right, for next year are the priority investments are the reestablishing the positions that we didn't fill last year, realigning them and putting them all up there. Because I think that, to your point earlier today, Nathan, people might talk about the technology. Well, we're reinvesting in the technology. We're making that a data technology person. We're adding other special education pieces back to the budget that were not filled last year. So I want to make sure that that's accurate so people can see the full investment. So if we can flag that, I'll look into that as well. That's slide 21.
Yeah, that's slide 21.
Okay.
If you want to send me the things you want to put in, I mean, obviously there's not, it's not like going to tie to this number. It's like the cost drivers, but we can list the positions and list how it ties to budget priority areas.
Yeah.
So if you send that to me, I can just format it in the same way. So
Okay.
it matches.
Perfect.
We talked last time about looking at the prior town meeting and figuring out what questions they were asking. And so I did that a bit. There was, sorry, I'm trying to find.
Special education piece.
I left, yeah, Katie a note on one of them, I thought.
It was
Oh.
there was stuff in there.
This is the per pupil one.
Yeah.
So it looks like Katie filled that out. Here it is, the out of district placement stuff. That was the question we got from one of the members of just percentages. So looks like I haven't looked at this in detail, but she's filling this in stuff.
Mark, I think in the FY27 budget section, I think we're missing. I would propose putting something like slide 27 up in that section, which just shows the breakdown of how of where the budget's going. I don't even, I don't know if it's possible to even create like a couple of subcategories under the DESI object code. I don't know exactly what the best organization there is. But I think that would be helpful for town meeting.
I agree.
Yeah, I think it's that last question of what would be the subcategories and how would we break that up?
Yeah. I mean, to me, the things that I think will draw the most attention are the object codes, 1, 3, and 4. So, I don't know if under professional salaries, if we could just break it out by like teacher, instructional support, instructional leadership, something like that. I don't know what's captured in admin. And under contracted services, to me, I assume there's a big category in there in transportation and special education services. Like, I'm just not sure if there's a way to just kind of big category bucket.
Yes, I mean, special education goes across all of those.
It does, right? Okay.
Transportation, could come out of contracted services, but I mean, you have special ed contracted services too.
That's what I was talking about.
Yeah, special ed, supplies, materials, it's special ed is in there.
Yeah.
I can ask Katie.
I'm sorry, I have to run. I apologize.
Thanks, John.
Do we want a meeting the Wednesday of the 29th?
Ninth.
Good question. And thought we were gonna meet again until after the reorganization. So we'll obviously be missing Amanda.
It doesn't matter. We can think about it.
I think. Yeah, let's not hold a meeting. Let's see.
Okay.
We'll try and do the rest of this one off. I'll get the rest of the
Okay.
feedback, go back and forth, email you, and then we can
Okay.
connect with Nate.
That sounds good.
The committee makeup will be very different.
All right. Thank you, everybody. I'm sorry I have to run.
Thank you. Thanks, John.
Thank you, John.
Um, all right. So then it's a matter of like, the only other thing I was wondering is, felt like we needed a closing slide, not just to end it on this and this, but maybe not. Maybe just say, maybe there's a slide that says thank you.
Mhm.
But I know we jumped past a little bit of this conversation up here as they're rushing for John. Any other thoughts folks have on the FY27 slides?
I think a closing slide would be helpful. I don't know if I have any great ideas off the top of my head, but I think something that has been helpful for us over the past year is coming back to our sort of school committee goals and the leadership team priorities, like what's on slide 16.
Mhm.
And I'm sure, we will evolve these for next year, but my guess is these will remain pretty important. I could even imagine us just saying these are goals next year, like, or something very close to them.
Mhm.
And I wonder if we could come back to these as we close to remind people of like
The why.
what the board and management's sort of focus is as as we ask town meeting to vote for this budget.
I like that.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
I can work on that.
Okay.
And then did folks have any other thoughts as to like content they think we might get asked about that they want to make sure we are ready for? Amanda had a couple, again, last time that we have captured within the appendix.
Mhm. No, I think to Nathan's point, when I look at the slide that's now slide 23. I guess is there any more narrative or information that's needed? Because there's a lot about the work that we did. I'm just thinking out loud. Like there's a lot
Yeah.
about the work that we did and the work that went into it, and the goals, and the priorities, and the outcomes. And then I just want to make sure that we're spending enough time on the actual budget piece of it. I think that we are. I'm just kind of keeping in mind, like, does it feel like there's, 2 slides about the actual numbers, or is there enough?
So I just put it in context of every other department,
Yeah.
and no other department presents on their budget. None.
But there's
Town
also
administrator-
isn't the size of ours.
No,
Like,
I understand.
ours-
I'm just saying the town administrator doesn't even present on the town budget, right? And so like I do think so I'm just saying from like a standpoint of what a town meeting member would expect and would want to see. I don't see a history of that. I think we're providing more than we have on the school side before. I think the balance is like the warrant committee is the one who dives into the numbers, which is why when we talked about this, right, was the audience. So again, I'm speaking a little bit out loud too, but I think a lot of this, it's like it's less even just specifically the numbers and the finances, although that's what town meeting obviously is allocating for, but it's more like really around like how is the school department functioning? Like what is the service that is provided by this to our families and kids? To me, that is, I think, just as much a lens within town meeting, if not more so than like, let's get into the numbers and say, hey, is this, 68% professional salary is the appropriate level to like, that's just, I think, something that really can't be a robust discussion at town meeting, can be more of a robust discussion within this meeting and school committee and warrant committee. It's my initial thinking on it though.
Yeah, maybe there's, I know, I guess if I think about what we've done and having the budget page and all of the detail that's gone into that, maybe that's where that is addressed, that like there's been robust discussions, there's transparency, there's more information that's always been available online about the budget. To your point, so it's sort of like hopefully this isn't the first that people are hearing and seeing and knowing about it, that there's context to this, and this is really the framing of the budget conversation and the work that it supports, as opposed to a deep dive on it.
Thank you. Sorry.
Yeah.
On that, sorry, just one thing. I got a message from Lizzie saying she's in the waiting room.
Yeah, I did. I just got one more.
Okay, all right. I wonder if there's just some framing that it can even happen up top at the beginning of it, like when you're on the agenda slide, or whoever's presenting is on the agenda slide, where we talk about kind of the purpose of this, which is to, provide town meeting some basic information around the budget so they understand what they're voting on, and remind them that it is probably more information than they've ever received on the budget.
Mm-hmm.
And even though we have all gone to school before, to remind people of like the impact that these dollars have on teaching and learning and student experiences. And, I think maybe if we book in the presentation with like some framing up top and then a closing slide that's like, reminding people of goals and talking about just the impact that these dollars have on students and families,
Yeah.
I would feel good with that.
Okay. Yeah, I think that helps, like the framing. Lizzie has her hand up.
Yeah, Lizzie, jump in.
Hey, good morning. So I wasn't here in the beginning when you were starting it, but I've heard most of the slides, I think, and I agree with what you all are saying, but I just wanted to encourage the tightness of the presentation as much as possible, to leave things, be prepared to answer questions when they come up with slides. And also just, I think town meeting members always appreciate a concise presentation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I feel like the warrant committee is a really different setting. So I'm wondering if there's a way to tighten it. Just wanted to offer that. You can always bring things back, but I think even in recent years, when we've been in a trickier spot than we are right now, like I would just, I think we need to be prepared to answer all the questions, which we are, but I would almost let the questions be asked in order to keep the presentation well under 10 minutes.
Yeah, we're over 10 minutes right now. No, 25 slides.
I think 25 slides is too many.
I mean, it's probably more like like 15 slides of real content.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, there's.
Yeah, and even that is a lot. But again, it's important to show that the work's been done, because that's, and it will be, I mean, it will be up to the person presenting to move quickly through the slides, but I just think that could ultimately undermine what we're trying to do if it gets too lengthy. That's all.
Yeah, I wonder if to that point, like starting at slide 18 through 22, where there's quite a few tables and a lot of very specific dollars. I know this is like the meat and potatoes of the presentation, but I also wonder if this section can be made more economical.
Yeah, we're talking about expanding it slightly because we're talking about adding a different table with the positions we're adding back, and we added this chart. Yeah.
Well, I can do some thinking about this offline as well. And
Yep. Yeah, I know we're getting close to time. Does make me wonder about this if we need to provide this context. I think it's fair push.
I think if we go back to John's comment in the beginning, like what is the goal of it?
Yeah.
And be really clear about it. So is it, I do think that yeah, I'll just say that. I think if there's a way to kind of be very succinct and to that point, it's like, is it, are we addressing things from the past as well? Like, is this goal trying to give more information than we have in the past? Is it about, I mean, it's all like, it's to your point, it's grounded in the kids and the people that we're serving in the community. So I think that there's a place for some of that. I don't know if we need all of it. Or to your point, do some of those come out and they're handouts? Kind of the accomplishments.
Good, Amanda, to that, I feel like we have two goals here. One is to have town meeting vote to approve the budget. And
Correct.
number two, I think in order for people to do that, they need to feel like this budget is reasonable and we are responsible stewards of it.
Yeah.
And so let's suspend disbelief and assume that that is right. It's probably the case that slides 3 through 10 are supplemental, and maybe we do the QR code and just say like, hey, there's a whole bunch of slides on the district website, scan this QR code and you can like read a bunch of highlights or something. I'm just making an argument, so feel free to argue against this. And that slides, basically then the second half of the presentation is what's most valuable at town meeting. So we focus on that. We could have one slide with like a QR code and a few things that just sort of highlight a number of the positive impacts to teaching, learning, and experience that these dollars have, right? Like, high performing academic outcomes with room to grow. Multiple academic and athletic and sort of culture wins throughout the year. And, basically 100% of our graduating class, going on to do something important when they graduate. And you can narrate through those specific data points.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that might be
I think
good.
that would,
Nathan. We'll have consolidate this into one slide with a couple pictures. I just think pictures are helpful. And then say the kids, schools have done a lot. Go here and learn about some highlights. And then jumping forward to a quick look back. And then a quick overview of the goals budget summary. Okay.
mm-hmm.
I think that's good feedback. I will take a crack at adjusting all that and then can share it out. We'll
Great.
Together. And the ultimate timeline is a week before town meeting. So that is like the end of the month. I think the 29th. Town meeting's on the 6th. So 2 weeks. All right. Thank you all very much for the discussion. We'll talk about next meetings. As we said, we don't have any next meetings assigned. We're gonna do the reorg on the 29th. We'll see who's on this committee, and then that group will set the next meeting. Our last item is to vote on meeting minutes. Only a couple, so hopefully
Just a few.
some light reading. I apologize that I got as far behind. We need a lot. I don't know if y'all know this. We need a lot. So we have minutes for all these. The participation varied in terms of just who's exactly at these meetings. I don't really want to go through and separate. I would request that we all feel comfortable approving, even if you're at that meeting. There's no reason you can't. So that would be my request. But if anybody would prefer to abstain from certain meeting minutes, then we can take this kind of one by one. Otherwise, we can do it kind of as a whole.
Let's do it as a whole.
Okay, great. Then I will make a motion. I think I got to say I'll make a motion to approve all of the Finance Committee meeting minutes as listed in the meeting agenda for today. Is there a second?
A second.
All right, we will do a roll call vote. Nathan?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
I am a yes. And then I will write up so we're done with meeting minutes. I'll tell Charlene that's great. Thank you all. These meeting minutes I will write up and send, and the next board will have to approve those. So I think we're kind of closed out on our work for the year. I'll loop back with you all on what I hear from Megan and Winston on the special ed stabilization fund policy. And then again, I'll send out once I do another round of updates on these slides. I'll email that out to y'all as well as other committee members so that folks are single 300%. Is there anything else we should talk about?
Thank you all
Excellent.
for your work this year.
Thanks, Lizzie.
Thanks, Lizzie.
Excellent job, Mark. Thank you for all of your guiding and all the work that you did on the presentation. And you've been a phenomenal chair. So thanks for all of the work.
Yeah, I second that motion, Mark. It's been great working with you. Thank you for your leadership.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's been a great group. We got a lot done. We did. So I appreciate all of your work so much. And Lizzie, you've been to enough meetings. We'll include you in this group here. So thank you for joining us so often. All right, with that, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. All in favor, Nathan?
Yes.
Amanda?
Yes.
I'm a yes. Thank you all.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks, Amanda.
Thank you.